Hello, YouTubers and NFL fans everywhere. This is Matt, the NFL Fanatic, giving you my Week 1 2021 NFL predictions. Well, after 7 long months, the National Football League is back. I am so excited for another season of NFL football. From Super Bowl 55 to this moment, I have been eager and excited to get back to this point where the season is just about to begin. I am excited for all my returning viewers and subscribers that watch this video and follow me throughout the season. And to any new viewers and new subscribers, welcome to this channel where throughout the season I will give my weekly predictions for the NFL season. And as I say every year, and I will reiterate once again, if there's anybody out there that doesn't like my commentary or the picks I make, you don't have to watch me. There are other people that make videos that have probably opinions that agree with your ways. Or YouTube is such a great platform, and there's other platforms as well. You can make your own predictions and get your word out there. So, anybody out there that doesn't like the way I do my predictions or my predictions at all, just go to other channels or make your own content. That's what I'm going to say. So, in my last video, when I recapped the Super Bowl, I gave a Super Bowl 56 prediction, in which I was going to say it was going to be the Kansas City Chiefs going against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a rematch for the second year in a row in Miami. And throughout the entire offseason, with all the moves that have been done, I am going to stick with that prediction. I remember this time last year, before the 2020 season started, I chose the Chiefs and the Niners at the end of the 2019 season. But after what happened with Tampa Bay, I picked Tampa Bay to replace San Francisco, and I was right. So I'm hoping that for a second year in a row, with the similar prediction, I'm going full Chris Berman, Bills Niners. I'm going to take the Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to play in Super Bowl 56 once again in Miami. And now it's time to go into the picks. So just like I've done the last few years, I am going to do against the spread and straight up picks. I will give all the picks a quick rundown in the beginning, and then I will go into each pick a bit more in-depthly and the reason why I chose them. And I will place pick time marks in the description of the video for all the viewers out there that want to have specific picks explained. And here we go. Alright, so this Thursday, the opening night game, when the Dallas Cowboys go to the defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers in their first game since playing in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 7.5-point favorites in this game. I am going to take Tampa Bay here minus 7.5 and Tampa Bay straight up. And then on Sunday, the first NFL Sunday of the year, when the Philadelphia Eagles go to Atlanta to take on the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons are 3.5-point favorites in this game. I am going to take Philadelphia here plus 3.5, but I'm going to take Atlanta straight up. Then the next game, when the Pittsburgh Steelers go to I believe it was a Week 15 rematch up to Buffalo to take on the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are 6.5-point favorites in this game. I like Buffalo here, minus 6.5, and Buffalo straight up. Then the next game, when the Minnesota Vikings go out to Cincinnati, Ohio, to go into the jungle to take on the Cincinnati Bengals. The Minnesota Vikings are 3-point favorites in that game. I'm going to take the Minnesota Vikings here, minus 3, and the Minnesota Vikings straight up. Then the next game, when the San Francisco 49ers go to the Detroit Lions in a big game to where the Niners are a team that have gotten a lot of their assets back, taking on Dan Campbell in his first game. The San Francisco 49ers are 7.5-point favorites in this game. If there were any big locks of the week that I would tell you to take, I would take this one with the Niners. And that's what I'm going to go with. The San Francisco 49ers are minus 7.5, and the San Francisco 49ers straight up. Then the next game, when the Arizona Cardinals go to the Tennessee Titans in a game that's evenly contested in my opinion. The Tennessee Titans are 3-point favorites in this game. I like the Tennessee Titans here, minus 3, and the Tennessee Titans straight up. Then the next game, when the Seattle Seahawks go to the Indianapolis Colts and Carson Wentz's first game since the Philadelphia Eagles trade. The Seattle Seahawks are 2.5 point favorites in this game. I like Seattle here minus 2.5, and Seattle straight up. And then the next game, when the Los Angeles Chargers take a west to east coast trip to play the Washington football team. This game is a pick-em on the line. It's a 1 point game. I like the Los Angeles Chargers here minus 1, and the Los Angeles Chargers straight up. I feel like it's an easy bet to make. Whoever you like, just it's a 1 point spread, so it's basically a pick-em. So I'm going to take the Chargers here minus 1, and the Los Angeles Chargers straight up. And then the next game, the Sam Darnold revenge game. The New York Jets travel to the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers are 5 point favorites in this game. I like the Carolina Panthers here straight up, but give me the New York Jets plus 5. Then the next game, when the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Trevor Lawrence and Urban Meyer era begins, taking on the Houston Texans, who were probably the most dysfunctional and arguably the leading candidate to get the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. And I know I just said all that, and probably my upset of the week, the biggest upset I have, I am actually going to take the Houston Texans here, and I know I just said all that stuff about the number 1 pick. I still believe that, but just for this week. Hey, just for a great example, Jacksonville got the number 1 pick last year, and they won week 1 as well. So anybody that gets on me for that, I'm just using precedent. The Houston Texans, I'm going to take the Houston Texans here are 3.5 or 3 point dogs. The Houston Texans are 3 point underdogs in this game. I like the upset here, so this is the big upset of the weekend. I've seen a lot of websites, I've seen a lot of main websites, a lot of people are putting money on the Jags. I'm going to take the upset here. Give me the Houston Texans here plus 3, and the Houston Texans straight up. Then the next game, in a rematch of the AFC Divisional Round, the Cleveland Browns are going back to Kansas City to right the wrongs of the Chad Henne comeback game, and of course that very bad fumble call on the touchdown that the Browns should have had. But the Chiefs are 6 point favorites in this game. I like the Kansas City Chiefs here to win straight up, but I feel like Cleveland, they are a top team. They are an arguable top team this year. I think they will be able to cover the 6 points, so give me the Cleveland Browns plus 6. Then the next game, in the Alabama battle, the Miami Dolphins going with Tua Tagovailoa, taking on the New England Patriots, and for the first time in Bill Belichick's career, a rookie quarterback in Mac Jones, the battle of 2 former Bama starting quarterbacks. The New England Patriots here are 3 point favorites in this game. Give me the New England Patriots here minus 3, and the New England Patriots straight up. Then the next game, in the game that has been moved from New Orleans due to the effects of Hurricane Ida, and to everybody out there from the southeast to the northeast, my condolences to all the families that have lost lives through the hurricane and all the damage, to all the families that are dealing with it now. Anybody out there, please donate money to the Red Cross or any organization to help all those families out. But that game has been moved from New Orleans to Jacksonville. So the Green Bay Packers are going to Jacksonville to play the New Orleans Saints. The Packers are 4.5 point favorites in that game. I like the Green Bay Packers here minus 4.5, and Green Bay straight up. Then the next game, in my arguable crappy toss-up game of the week between two teams that are really, I don't think, going to be relevant by the end of the year. The Denver Broncos are going to MetLife Stadium to take on the New York Giants. The Denver Broncos are 2.5 point favorites in this game. I like Denver here minus 2.5, and Denver straight up. And then the final 2 games in the Sunday Night Football game, it's going to have the Chicago Bears traveling out to Los Angeles to take on the new Matthew Stafford-led Los Angeles Rams. The LA Rams are 7.5 point favorites in this game. I like the LA Rams here to win minus 7.5, and the LA Rams straight up. And then finally, the Monday Night Football game. The first time in a few years you're only going to have one Monday Night Football game. It is going to have my beloved Baltimore Ravens traveling out to Las Vegas to take on the Las Vegas Raiders in the first game that will have fans allowed in Allegiant Stadium. The Ravens are 4.5 point favorites in this game, and sorry to the Raider fans, I'm not being a homer, but Jane won't believe this. I'm going to take the Baltimore Ravens here minus 4.5, and the Baltimore Ravens straight up. Alright, so time for my quick thoughts on each game. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers over the Dallas Cowboys. This game to me is a fairly simple choice. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the first teams, and I believe the 1972 Raiders that have brought all 22 starters from the Super Bowl team back within their ranks. Lavonte David signed a 2-year extension. Shaquille Barrett signed a 4-year extension. AB signed a 1-year deal himself. Chris Godwin is on the franchise tag. They brought Sue back for 1 year. They have Wirfs on a rookie deal. Leonard Fournette came back on a rookie deal. Ronald Jones is still on a rookie deal. All the corners are on rookie deals or 1-year deals themselves. Antoine Winfield is on a rookie deal. This team is fully loaded, and I feel like, again, they are the clear favorite to repeat as Super Bowl champions, to be the first time since Brady and the Pats did it back in 2003 and 2004. I think with the Cowboys, they've had kind of a weird season overall, or off-season overall. They went all defense across the draft, bringing in Micah Parsons. Obviously, that was their big splash from Penn State. I know they brought some corners from Oregon State, and they had other defensive lineman aspects. But that was pretty much the main cause of their offseason, besides giving Dak Prescott a 4-year, $160 million extension. And also, Dak Prescott is coming off a elbow injury that has been pretty much left him sidelined through most of training camp. He was a full participant in practice yesterday, and he'll probably practice all throughout the week. But I feel like that is a very bad recipe against a Bucs team that is going to be motivated to show right off the bat that they are going to be the defending champs and come out with a lot of gusto. I feel like the Bucs defensive line will get after the Cowboys offensive line, especially after hearing the news, and I wish Zach Martin well, that their best offensive lineman has tested positive with COVID-19, and he is going to probably be out for this game on Thursday. I don't even think if he played, it wouldn't have mattered. Or it wouldn't have changed the outcome, in my opinion. But I just feel like with Dak's limited time practicing going against that Bucs pass rush, I feel like the Bucs secondary, they can do a good enough job. CeeDee Lamb's going to be the wild card for me. I'm not a really big Michael Gallup fan. He had a couple nice plays, but then after Dak left, or Dak got hurt, they really couldn't do anything that much. Amari Cooper's Amari Cooper. They have Mike Evans, who I think is better. I just think the Bucs are going to just roll through this Cowboys team that has some promise, but with a lot of overpaid guys like Jalen Smith, DeMarcus Lawrence. I just don't see the Cowboys being competitive in this game very much at all. I know Jerry Jones said the other day this is a David versus Goliath scenario. I don't think the Cowboys are as much a David as he thinks, but unlike a David and Goliath, as soon as the Bucs fire their cannon, instead of David hitting the Goliath right between the eyes, the Bucs are going to shoot the cannonball right between the Cowboys' cowboy hat and spurs. They're going to knock them down. Do I think the Cowboys have a shot? Maybe. Again, it's the first aspect of the season. If the Cowboys' offensive line holds up with Martin, or with Ty Smith, with McGovern, with Terrence Steele, and those other aspects, maybe it could be competitive. And if Zeke can definitely control the game with the run game, it could be competitive. I just don't see that happening. The Bucs' run defense was one of the best for the last couple seasons, and I just think the Cowboys will be very overmatched in this game. So that's why I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here, -7.5, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers straight up. The next game, the Atlanta Falcons over the Philadelphia Eagles. This one is tough because over the last couple years in week 1 of Atlanta, I've had mixed bag results with taking them in the first week. I took them a couple years ago to beat Minnesota. They lost. I took them last year to lose to Seattle, and they lost. And this is kind of where, again, Philadelphia comes in, and I have to take Atlanta just based on the experience and the more talented aspect of the team that they have in most areas. I'll give the Eagles the offensive line, but I think the Atlanta Falcons have a little bit better secondary. They have some better receiving options. Of course, they brought in Kyle Pitts, the big tight end, the number 4 overall pick from Florida. I think he's going to have an immediate impact in this game. They have Calvin Ridley, who is now their new number 1 wide receiver after trading Julio Jones to the Tennessee Titans. I'm a big Grady Jarrett fan. You still have Deion Jones. You have Dante Fowler. So you have some decent pass rushers there. A.J. Terrell hopefully will take a nice step up for them. Their safeties I'm a little bit concerned about. But, hopefully with the Eagles, when they're okay tight ends. I know Dallas Goedert's kind of emerged as number 1 tight end, but they still have Zach Ertz, who now wants to retire as an Eagle. That's the only thing I'm a little bit concerned about. But also, I can't take the Eagles just because I think there's just so much new there. This is going to be Nick Sirianni's first game as a head coach. This is going to be Jalen Hurts' only 6th career start. Maybe he could have kind of a Michael Vick 2010 type Atlanta game when he, coming back in there. Of course, Jalen Hurts had one of his biggest moments in that Georgia Dome, taking on, or basically subbing in for Tua and helping the Crimson Tide win the SEC title that year. I believe they lost to Clemson that year. So Jalen has experience in that building. But I just feel like, again, Atlanta, they have the better kicker. They're going to be at home. And I feel like with Arthur Smith, with Mike Davis kind of controlling the run game now, because obviously Todd Gurley only was on a 1-year deal. I think the Falcons can run the ball okay enough, and they can use that play action to help Matt Ryan be effective. And I just think Atlanta will make one more defensive stop than the Eagles will, because I expect this to be a high-scoring game. I would take the over on the amount. And there's just something about it where I know a lot of people, but I'm going to take the Eagles here plus 3.5 because of the reason I just talked about. Atlanta over the last few years, obviously, have been known to choke massive games. I remember just last year in weeks 2 and 3, they blew 16-point leads in 2 consecutive fourth quarters. So I wouldn't be that surprised if the Eagles were able to pull out a win. I just can't see it with the Falcons or what they have. I think they're a little bit more seasoned. They have more talent on some defensive aspects, and there's too much unknown for me with the Eagles right off the bat that I have to take the Falcons here to win straight up in this game. Should be an interesting game, Battle of the Birds, but give me the Falcons here, a little more experience. They have the home field, and I can't trust Sirianni yet to see what he does in a meaningful regular season game. Because remember in the preseason, this is the same team that got blown out 35-0 with the Cam Newton-led Pats. So, just FYI. So that's why I like the Atlanta Falcons here straight up, but the Philadelphia Eagles plus 3.5. The next game, the Buffalo Bills over the Pittsburgh Steelers. This one was fairly easy to me. I'm going to say this right now. In my opinion, I believe the Buffalo Bills will be playing the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship game for a second straight year. I believe they're the second best team in the conference. It's a very slight margin over the Browns, but I believe in Josh Allen, who got a $256 million extension just a few weeks ago. He is their franchise quarterback, and I believe he is the best quarterback that Bills franchise has had since Jim Kelly. And I don't think anybody can dispute that. They added Emmanuel Sanders, which I appreciate. I like Dawson Knox, and as an emerging tight end, hopefully he has a nice year for them. If they need someone in the middle of the field, the offensive line pretty much is still intact. You have Deion Dawkins, Cody Ford, all across the offensive line there. You have Matt Milano, Trey White. You have Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer. Most of this team is still intact. Stephon Diggs had a breakout year, one of the top 5 wide receivers coming back. They still have Cole Beasley, who's kind of been very vocal throughout the off season about the whole protocol thing, but I'm just gonna leave that be. But I really like this Bills team. Where the Steelers, the biggest thing for them that I can't take them in this game is their offensive line has been completely reshuffled. The Marquise and Mike Pouncey, both for the Chargers and Steelers respectively, both retired. They lost a right tackle to the Browns. They brought in Trey Turner. They cut David DeCastro. And I understand they got Najee Harris, and they got they lost Steven Nelson and went to Philadelphia. They brought in Akil Witherspoon. They traded from the Seahawks, who they gave a 2023 fifth-round pick, I believe, in return. And I can't buy Big Ben in this game. Big Ben, I remember they went 11-0 last year, and I was impressed. Just like everybody else, I thought the Steelers were going to be a solid squad. But once they lost to the Washington football team, and you could argue again the game got postponed 2 or 3 times because of COVID protocols. That's fair. But after that moment, and then you lose to Ryan Finley on Monday Night Football, that Steelers team was never taken seriously, and it was so bad that it got the Browns their first playoff win since 2002. So kudos to the Browns there, but that's why I think the Steelers team, I don't even think they're going to make the playoffs personally. I like Najee, I like Chase, I like Deontay Johnson. Pat Freiermuth is probably going to take the starting job over Eric Ebron over the next few weeks. I just think with Big Ben, I just can't trust him to win you the game. And I feel like the Bills' run defense should be able to stop Najee Harris enough in his first game. He might have a Clyde Edwards-Helaire week 1 game he had against Texans. I don't know. But I think that's going to be the only way the Steelers are able to win this game. If Najee Harris just goes off for about 150 to 160 scrimmage yards. And also, again, the Steelers defense, they may not have T.J. Watt. There's been a story going around that he's basically been at camp, but he hasn't been practicing due to wanting to become the highest paid player defensively in the NFL. The Steelers have not been able to negotiate with him a contract yet, and they are going to be stubborn. As soon as Sunday happens, they are not going to negotiate a contract, so T.J. Watt actually might hold out and not even play, which would be massive. And if anybody hasn't heard about that story, Look it up. It's a big freaking deal. But those are all the reasons why I'm taking the Bills. Could the Steelers win if Najee goes off? Well, sure, but I think with the Bills' defense, if they limit Najee's running game and force Big Ben to throw, I think with their secondary and with the receivers they have, Claypool's obviously going to be their biggest asset. I think the Bills win this game by a touchdown, and it might be off of what happened last time. Taron Johnson picked 6 to win the game. I remember they won the game 16-10 last year. I think they were able to get that one extra point in this game. I feel like the Bills are just clearly built and more prepared to win this game at home with a filled Bills Stadium. I think the Bills win this game off of that. So that's like the Buffalo Bills here, -6.5, and the Buffalo Bills straight up. The next game, the Minnesota Vikings over the Cincinnati Bengals. This is one to where, look, I don't think the Vikings and the Bengals are definitely going to be a losing franchise once again. I know they brought in Jamar Chase, they brought in Trey Hendrickson, they have Von Bell, they lost Geno Atkins, they lost Giovanni Bernard, they have Joe Mixon. So there are some positives and negatives, but that offensive line is atrocious, and the Vikings defense getting Anthony Barr back, getting Danielle Hunter back on a one-year deal, getting Everson Griffin back into the fold, where he spent 9 of the last seasons as a Viking. I just think the Vikings are just a better team. I'll give me Justin Jefferson, give me Adam Thielen, give me Chad Beebe, give me Dalvin Cook, give me Kirk Cousins in this scenario. Again, he also, Mike Zimmer gets to play his former squad, where he was a defensive coordinator. I know under a completely different regime, but I digress. I just think the Vikings are just clearly a more built and well-rounded team. Losing Irv Smith for the Vikings is significant. He had a meniscus tear, which will take him about 4 to 5 months. So for any fantasy users out there, get Chris Herndon, the former New York Jet, who the Vikings traded for a 4th-round pick. He is now the new big name starting tight end after Kyle Rudolph for 10 years signed with the New York Giants. And also, I have to give the Vikings credit. They also signed Harrison Smith to a new 4-year, $64 million extension. He is now the second highest paid safety in the league behind the Arizona Cardinals' Budda Baker. Look, I know people were excited. Joe Burrow, his first game back since Week 10 when he tore his ACL against the Washington football team. And I know that the Bengals, they had a lot of close moments. And they have C.J. Uzomah coming back. They have T. Higgins. They have Tyler Boyd. They have a core that you could try to believe in. And then the Bengals, for the most part, I will give them, they were in a lot of close losses before Joe got hurt. But I just think with that offensive line, I think the Vikings pass rush will feast on Joe Burrow. I hope he can stay healthy throughout this game, because he is going to take a beating from this Vikings defensive line. And also I just feel like, again, the Vikings will be able to run the ball effectively. They have Dalvin Cook, who is better than Joe Mixon at this point. I think Cousins can make a few more big-time throws with some of the receivers he has compared to Joe's. And I just feel like, again, the Vikings have more around them to compete against a Bengals team that has some new pieces. They also lost Carl Nassib, who went to the Jets, but he's out for the year due to an Achilles injury. Best wish to him recovery. But I just look at the Vikings overall and just say they are clearly the better team in most assets, and in pretty much all assets of the tail of the tape. And I think they go into Cincinnati, a place where it's not very hard to win in Cincinnati. The big upset they had last year obviously was against the Titans last year, but I just think, again, going to Cincinnati is not that much of a home field advantage. And the Vikings are just clearly the better football team. So that's like the Minnesota Vikings here -3 and the Minnesota Vikings straight up. The next game, the San Francisco 49ers over the Detroit Lions. I am taking the San Francisco 49ers here based on the fact that the Niners are getting a lot of assets back, and they have a lot more moving forward compared to the Detroit Lions, who lost a lot of assets over the offseason. Of course, you look at the Niners, you're going to get Raheem Mostert back. You're going to have Jeff Wilson. He'll be back. George Kittle will be back healthy. Jimmy Garoppolo, who I believe will be starting. I know there's been a whole controversy over the offseason if the Niners were going to go with Jimmy Garoppolo, the starter they gave over $120 million to, or Trey Lance, number 3 overall pick from North Dakota State. From Kyle Shanahan, he hasn't committed to a starter. From what you hear about what he believes in, I think Jimmy is going to get the starting nod. They're going to get Nick Bosa back. They're going to have... they just signed Josh Norman. They have Fred Warner, the second highest paid linebacker in the league. You have Dre Greenlaw. You have Jaquiski Tart. You have Jason Verrett. So you have a secondary, since they lost Richard Sherman, it's going to be a little weakened. They have a lot of veteran corners and a phenomenal pass rush with with Bosa, with Eric Armstead area. That was an Eric Armstead. You're going to get Deebo Samuel back. You could have Jalen Hurd. And you have a Niners offense with Kyle Shanahan's ability to call plays, especially running plays, that will definitely be able to stretch the field horizontally and vertically with the way they're going. All they need is that Jimmy Garoppolo needs to stay healthy and not make mistakes. And it's the first game. And I just look at the Lions, and I just see, besides Dan Campbell, who is a big meathead, again, he calls himself the dude from the Big Lebowski. And honestly, I don't think he's that, he's a great motivational guy, but X's and O's, I think it's scrambled as an egg. Just like I think part of his brain scrambled like an egg. And he loves coffee. But besides that, the Lions lost a lot of assets. They brought in Anthony Lynn as offensive coordinator. They lost Kenny Galladay. They lost Adrian Peterson. They lost some big defensive players. They brought in Desmond Trufant. They brought in Rashad Perryman. They kept both those guys before the season even started. My favorite one was they signed 2 kickers, Zane Gonzalez and Randy Bullock, and they cut both of those kickers before the season started. I believe it's now going to be Austin Seibert as their leading kicker after Matt Prater went to the Arizona Cardinals. And I just look at the Lions and go, and getting Jared Goff, who, and this is a slight hot take, okay, as a pure quarterback, I take Jared Goff over Matt Stafford. That's just me. I think Jared Goff is a more proven winner. But obviously, Jared Goff is going to a much weaker scenario, or weaker situation. The biggest reason why he got there was Brad Holmes, the former Rams scouting president, is now the GM of the Lions. That's why also Michael Brockers is also in Detroit as well, after trading for him as well. And I just look at this Lions team and go, besides Penei Sewell, Romeo Okura, and Jared Goff, there's nobody, and Hawkinson, who might have, a bigger breakout role now in this offense. There's nothing on the Lions that really scares me. All the Lions guys are just overpaid, underrated, they're overpaid, they're young, or they're overrated. Any combination of those three is when I look at most of the Lions roster. They also cut the Tavai, the 49th overall pick, just a little bit ago, and he couldn't even make the Pats roster. Do I think the Lions can compete? Sure, because again, I don't know if Jimmy's going to be healthy. And the Niners just seem over the last couple years, or through Kyle Shanahan's tenure, who I think, again, he's the most overrated coach in the entire league, Kyle Shanahan. He seems to be able to make these games awkwardly close. And, who knows with their injury bug, they had so many injuries, they may, hopefully, knock on wood, that none of them get hurt, but if it does. I just think, though, the Niners, they just are too much firepower offensively. They have a defense that's going to be motivated. D'Amico Ryans, the former Houston Texans linebacker, is new defensive coordinator. I think he will do a fantastic job. And I just think, again, that Niners defense is going to get after the Lions. Penei Sewell had a tough preseason, so going against the Niners pass rush is not a great first assignment for you as their new stalwart franchise left tackle. But I'm going to take the 49ers here. Fully healthy. They are just clearly a better team than the Lions that have lost so much talent that I just think, again, they're going towards another top 10 pick season with the way their team is right now. So that's why I like the San Francisco 49ers here, minus 7.5, and the San Francisco 49ers straight up. The next game, the Tennessee Titans over the Arizona Cardinals. I am taking the Tennessee Titans here to win this game based off the fact that in this kind of environment where both teams are pretty much similar in terms of, I think both offenses are just about as effective. Kyler's more mobile. Tannehill's the better pure thrower. Running games, you have to give that to the Titans. Receiving cores are about a push. Two big time guys, and then kind of average role players, sprinkling around. Tight ends that nobody knows about. Dan Arnold and Max Williams. Anthony Firkser for Tennessee. Defenses that have some decent defensive pieces. Though I might give Arizona a slight edge because you have J.J. Chandler and Buda compared to, well, I guess they have Byard, but you have Dupree, Jeffrey Simmons, Janoris Jenkins, Caleb Farley. Both teams are about even, I feel like, in this matchup. Like, just in terms of just talent, the offensive lines, like, everything's about even, give or take. So, in this situation, the two things I usually tend to go with are the home field, or three things. The home field, the quarterback, and the coaching. And all those go with the Tennessee Titans. They're at Nissan Stadium. Mike Vrabel's a better coach than Kingsbury. And in this moment, I'll take Ryan Tannehill to outplay Kyler Murray in this game. Would I be surprised if the Cardinals win this game? Not at all. I think the Cardinals, they had so much talent, and I remember, they had the big win over Seattle, where Russell Wilson threw 3 picks, and that famous play of DK Metcalf chasing Buda Baker 10 yards behind him. And this Cardinals team is talented. But I just think, again, in this kind of moment, with Malcolm Butler retiring, that hurts their secondary a lot. That leaves Drake or Patrick. They lost Patrick Peterson, obviously, to the Minnesota Vikings. I have to take the better quarterback, the better coach, and the home field advantage. And all 3 of those go to the Tennessee Titans. Should be a fantastic game. Competitive to the end, and I will not be surprised if the Cardinals win, but I'm going to take the Titans of those 3 advantages going to the Titans. Sounds like the Tennessee Titans here -3, and the Tennessee Titans straight up. The next game, the Seattle Seahawks over the Indianapolis Colts. This one is rare and tough for me because I am a big Russell Wilson fan, so obviously I follow the Seahawks a lot, and I watch pretty much all their games over the past several years. And this is a tough one because Seattle was on the road. If this game was in Seattle, I'd feel much better about taking them and feel, a lot more gusto. But this is a road game, and ever since the Super Bowl, they've always had about an average record on the road, and this Colts team is a pretty talented team in most areas. Again, they have one of the better offensive lines. They have Eric Fisher, they lost their left tackle, Sam Telvey. That's significant. And Eric Fisher is coming off an ACL himself, so he may not be able to start. So they have their 3rd string left tackle starting. They did re-sign Braden Smith, their right tackle, to a big extension. Ryan Kelly's on a big extension, but he's a very good center. And Quentin Nelson, the best offensive lineman in the league. He is coming back from a foot injury that Carson Wentz suffered as well, but he should be able to start as well. And, of course, the Colts, they have their defensive line. They have DeForest Buckner. They have the maniac Darius Leonard. They lost to Nico Autry. That's a little bit of sneaky loss there that he went to the Titans. But the Colts just have a very talented defense. And they have Davenport. They have Julian Blackman. Great Xavier Rhodes is coming back. They have Rocky Sim. They have a very talented defense. And I will tell everybody this. Matt Eberflus, the current defensive coordinator for the Colts, in 1 or 2 years, he should be getting a head coaching job because that's how good he's been with the Colts defense. But with that all being said, the big reason why I'm taking the Seattle Seahawks is due to the fact that wide receiver T.Y. Hilton has a disc issue in his neck. And he's been put on the injured reserve, so he will at least be out for the first 3 weeks of the season. And I think that is just a huge blow that with a Seahawks defense that is okay. Again, they still have Bobby. They have Bobby and Jamal this season. Jamal obviously just signed a 4-year, $70 million extension to become the highest paid safety in the National Football League, or one of the highest paid safeties in the National Football League. I look at the Seahawks here having that advantage without T.Y. Hilton as the biggest reason why they're going to win this game. Do I think that the Colts could win? Yes, obviously. With Carson Wentz being healthy, I think that's going to be a massive plus for them. But also, I just feel like with this game, if you're going to give me Russell and Carson in this kind of environment, first game of the year, a Colts team that's going to be shaky at the very least, give me the Seahawks here to win this game, because I think Russell will outplay Carson by a little bit. And I feel, again, the Colts offense, if they double-team Michael Pittman with some of the other guys they have, and Zach Pascal, Jack Doyle, I don't think they're going to be able to make enough plays. And I think the Seahawks run defense will do okay enough to shut down the combo of Jonathan Taylor and Marlon Mack to contain him. So, that's why I like the Seattle Seahawks here, -2.5, and the Seattle Seahawks straight up. The next game, the Los Angeles Chargers over the Washington football team. This is one of my favorite games of the week because this is a literal coin flip of a game, and it's between offense and defense. You have the Los Angeles Chargers offense led by second-year quarterback Justin Herbert, who was the Offensive Rookie of the Year, broke the rookie passing touchdown record at 30. You have Austin Eckler coming back. You have Mike Williams. You have Keenan Allen. You have Jared Cook. You have an offensive line that's been rebuilt with Rashawn Slater at left tackle, Corey Linsley at the center, and the one guy from the Steelers, who is now the right tackle. And you have a defense getting Derwin James back. They still have Chris Harris. They drafted Asante Samuel Jr. They have the guy from Notre Dame, Julian Davenport, who I like a lot. They lost Perryman, which was a little bit of a sneaky, loss. Again, how he's on the Las Vegas Raiders after signing with the Panthers. But I really like this Chargers team. I think, again, they're going to be a playoff team. They're my 7th seed right now with everything going on. playing a Washington team that is defensively loaded, probably one of the best front sevens, if not the best front seven in the league, and a secondary that has some decent playmakers to it. Landon Collins hopefully is coming off an ACL tear, so he should be coming back soon. They have William Jackson, they have Kendall Fuller, they have Cameron Curl, they have Holcomb, they have Tim Settle. They have a very talented defense. But offensively, they have Logan Thomas, who I'm a fan of. He's an emerging tight end. But you have Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, Antonio Gibson. They have Brandon Scherf back for another year. Lost Morgan Moses to the Jets. I think that's a little bit of a sneaky loss right there. But in this game between the Chargers and Washington, it's also the problem for Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick, he is the best backup quarterback in the entire league. But once you ask him to start and there's expectations for this Washington team, he's not going to do well, though it is week one. So, and usually Ryan Fitzpatrick over the years, 2018, 2019, last year he didn't do well in week one, but usually in week one, Ryan Fitzpatrick usually tends to do well in the first game. So, but in this game, the tiebreaker to me was the quarterback. I'm going to take Herbert in this situation. I think the Chargers, if they win this game, you could finally start talking about, are they not the chokers anymore? Because I remember last year, they won 4 straight games. Take out the KC game because nobody started. But they won 4 straight games by close scores. So they were finally starting to show you with the Falcons, the Raiders, and the Broncos that they were able to win close games. And if they can do that again, or they can start doing it this year, maybe it's finally the end of the choker, phenomenon, choker stigma. And maybe this Chargers team can show how far they can go with the roster they have. Because they have one of the most talented rosters in the league, in my opinion. So that's why I like the Los Angeles Chargers here, -1, and the Los Angeles Chargers straight up. The next game, the Carolina Panthers over the New York Jets. I'm taking the Carolina Panthers here just because I feel like they are a more complete team. They brought in some good talent. And I just look at the Jets, and the Jets are still the Jets. I like Robert Saleh personally as a head coach. I think he's going to do a fantastic job. I love his mentality. He's earned this opportunity being the Niners defensive coordinator, the Jaguars linebacker coach, the Seahawks linebacker coach. He's earned this shot. And I know the Jets, they invested a lot in their left tackle. They have Becton, they have Tucker, they have Moses. I was just saying, they brought in Corey Davis. Losing Carl Davis is going to be a massive blow for them defensively. They're going to get Quinnen Williams back. He should be able to start. You have C.J. Mosley coming back after he opted out of the season due to COVID concerns. That'll be nice. But the secondary, I'm just still not sold on. They don't really have any big-time name in the secondary. They have Marcus May, who's probably their best secondary guy, but he's just coming in off a 1-year tag deal. And I just look at the Panthers and I go, you have Jeremy Chin, you have Derek Brown, you have Brian Burns, you have J.C. Horn, you have Corn Elder, you have on the offensive side, you're going to have Christian McCaffrey coming back, Robbie Anderson, just signed a 2-year extension, DJ Moore, pretty solid receiver. You have Sam Darnold, the bust of the Jets, coming in to save Matt Rule and the Panthers. And I just like what the Panthers have in this matchup. Could the Jets... But I think, though, with the Jets, I've seen Zach Wilson play throughout the preseason. He's looked better than I thought. And I think for the Jets, that's why I'm going to take them +5. I feel like Zach Wilson, with the weapons he has, with kind of the athleticism he has, kind of the spunk he has, can definitely keep this game closer than what people expect from the Panthers. And also, again, just like with the Bengals, this was a team in Matt Rule that had a lot of one-score games. So even if they win this game, I could definitely see this game being closer than what they really were expecting in this type of game. So I think 5 points is way too many to hold on for the Jets. Take them +5, but I just have to take the Panthers here. More experienced coach, better talent around them, and it's still the Jets, and it's just a rookie aspect. So that's why the Carolina Panthers are straight up with the New York Jets +5. The next game, the Houston Texans over the Jacksonville Jaguars. In my upset of the week, let me explain to everybody real quickly why I'm taking the Houston Texans to win this game. I know that the Texans have gone through a lot with quarterback Deshaun Watson and all his on-the-field frustrations with the team and his off-the-field issues outside of the team. I'm not going to go into that on this channel. I'm not going to dive into that. Everybody knows that watch football, about those issues. But the thing I want to tell people about Jacksonville is that from what I saw out of the first couple games, I know Trevor Lawrence did phenomenal against the Cowboys. I get that. But it wasn't very good. The Jags looked pathetic. They looked anemic offensively. It looked basic. I don't really trust the Jags offensive line. Maybe they get Cam Robinson and their other right tackle and that center who's Brandon Unger, their center, who apparently is one of the better centers in the league. So if they get their offensive line back, that should help. But they lost Travis Etienne in the preseason due to a Liz Frank injury. And thank God they had James Robinson. Honestly, I had to tell everybody, I think that was so disrespectful to James Robinson. This guy was a top 100 player in the NFL top 100, or he was number 100. He was in the top 6% of the league, and the Khans and Urban Meyer, the morons that they were, decided to draft Travis Etienne just to appease Mr. Handsome boy Trevor Lawrence. And look at that now. So now with that Liz Frank and James Robinson now really comes in handy. And just real quick, I'll finish this side. Mr. James Robinson, I hope you do well, and I hope that if you do well, you ask the Jags to trade Travis Etienne, because you deserve to be the man there if you do well enough. If you get another 1,000-yard season, you deserve to be the man, and Etienne deserves to hit the trade block. And if they decide not to do that, or they put Etienne in your spot, you hold out. You hold out and tell them, I'm not going to play for you until you get me out of here, because I've earned this starting job over not 1 year of work, but 2. That's if he does well, but that's a quick aside. I know they brought in guys like Marvin Jones, Roy Robertson Harris, Shaquille Griffin from the Seahawks. They just traded Sidney Jones to the Seahawks also as well for a 6th-round pick. But I'm just not really sold on this Jags team. Like, I think that offensive line, I don't think it's going to hold up that well. And I like Tyrod Taylor in this scenario. Tyrod Taylor is not going to get the Texans into the playoffs, nor is he going to, win moments. But like I said before, okay, everybody, including me, thought the Houston Texans or the Jaguars just last year in Week 1, they were destined to go 0-16. They played a good Colt team that ended up making the playoffs as a wild card, and they beat them in a shocking upset, or the shocking upset of the year, where everybody's talking about, the Jags were going 0-16. They ended up going 1-15, but that first win came in Week 1. I have that same feeling about this Texans game right now, because I think Tyrod can work with Cooks. He can work with Smith. He can work with the stable running backs they have. They have 4 decent running backs in David Johnson, Phillip Lindsay, Mark Ingram, Rex Burkhead, I believe came to Houston. But all those running backs in Houston will help them out tremendously. I like Darren Fells at tight end. Defensively, they have Bradley Roby. They have Vernon Hargraves. They have the defensive line is kind of an issue. I'll give people that, because they lost DJ Reader to the Bengals. They really don't have J.J. Watt anymore, obviously. They just traded Shaq Lawson to the Jets for a 6th-round pick. They let go of Beardrick McKinney. So a lot of the only big defensive player on the line that I know of that's been effective is Whitney Merciless. So I think that would be an issue, but I think the Texans can make enough plays against Trevor Lawrence that will make him feel uncomfortable. And I just don't trust Urban Meyer in this spot. David Culley, as weird as it's been, he's been around the league plenty of stops to get this opportunity. So, do I think the Jags, could they win this game? Obviously, yes. And I understand I'm taking a huge upset in a lot of people's eyes. But I think Tyrod can win this game by managing it enough. And I just can't trust Urban Meyer in this spot to pull out a win with that offensive line that I've seen and just the lack of creativity I've seen through the preseason in most of their games. So that's like the Houston Texans here, +3, and the Houston Texans straight up. The next game, the Kansas City Chiefs over the Cleveland Browns. This is fairly easy. The Chiefs and Bucs are probably the 2 likeliest teams that people are going to expect to run the table throughout the year to go 20-0. But I'm going to take the Chiefs here to win just because, again, it's a home game. The Chiefs are just, again, they revamped that entire offensive line, got a new center, got a new left tackle, got a new right guard. They brought in some decent secondary help. They have Clyde Edwards-Helaire still there. Travis Kelce's there long-term. Tyreek Hill there is, still there. Mecole Hardman's going to be down the number 2 with Sammy Watkins going to Baltimore. You have Demarcus Robinson. And you have a defense with Frank Clark because he still has been punished for his legal issue with the Uzi. But I digress. You still have Chris Jones. You have Tyrann Mathieu. Hopefully he can play. He was put on the COVID list a little while ago. But hopefully he can play. You have Jerry Sneed. I'm a big fan of a corner. You have other, Willie Gay, and a lot of other decent defensive pieces around there that I think can hold on to the Browns. But I'm going to take the Browns here +6 because the Browns have one of the most complete teams in the league. Great offensive line, great running backs, best running back duo in the league in Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. They have Odell Beckham coming back. You have Jarvis Landry, you have Austin Hooper, Harrison Bryant, Baker Mayfield, a solid quarterback who is playing in a contract year, more than likely. And I think the Browns, they brought in Troy Hill, they brought in John Johnson, they have Jadeveon Clowney, pair of Myles Garrett. They lost Sheldon Richardson to the Vikings, but I don't think that's that big of a loss. But I really like how complete this Browns team is. But I just feel like with the Chiefs offense, with the way they're able to make plays, with the way they're dedicated and they're motivated to show that the Super Bowl was not the start of a dip, but a blip, if you will. I think the Chiefs win this game in a motivated and fired up Arrowhead in a rematch in the AFC divisional round. But I feel like the Browns, they're going to put up a fight. They are going to be competing tooth and nail with the Chiefs in a lot of plays. And I think it takes one turnover from the Chiefs to give the Browns the win. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Chiefs win off a last-second field goal or last-second touchdown drive that gets them a 4 or 5 point win to win the game. So that's why I like the Chiefs here to win straight up. But give me the Cleveland Browns +6. Next game, the New England Patriots over the Miami Dolphins. I'm taking the New England Patriots here based off the fact that I believe the New England Patriots, with Mac Jones, and just from what I've heard recently, the left tackle for the Miami Dolphins, Austin Jackson, the former first-round pick of last year, is on the COVID list. I don't know if he's been vaccinated, and I don't know if he is going to have... I know they put Adam Shaheen, the other tight end. He is unvaccinated, so he's definitely going to be out. But Adam Shaheen, I didn't think was going to be that big of a factor. But the starting left tackle for the Miami Dolphins testing positive with COVID or being on that list is a huge problem, because if he can't go with Tua's lack of athleticism, I just think that is a massive blow that makes me change my pick to the Patriots. I was originally going to take the Dolphins to win this game, but after hearing that news today about Austin Jackson, I went with the Patriots. Because I feel like even if he's not going to play, if he can't even practice, going against that Patriot defense, this is a rematch, a pure rematch from last year, week 1. Fitzpatrick was there the first time. Fitzpatrick kind of played a Fitzpatrick game. And there's a lot of pressure on Tua as well, because, again, his name and Deshaun Watson's name have been mentioned about Deshaun wanting to come to Miami. So this is a big game for him. Brian Flores gave him a huge vote of confidence. But I just think with the Pats, if they don't have their left tackle, even if he's not practicing, I think that Pats defense is going to get after Tua, and I'm just going to trust that they get a couple turnovers, a couple big stops, and Mac Jones plays a manager game enough to win it without their starting left tackle. I'm going to stick with the Patriots either way, even if Austin Jackson is eligible to play. But I'm going to take the Pats there just off of that news about Austin Jackson. That is too big of a blow for me not to go with him in this spot. Should be an interesting game, though, for all Alabama fans out there. This is a great game. Two of your former quarterbacks. The other one's going to be in Atlanta playing for Philadelphia. Getting to play in the same division, getting to play in this big moment is going to be a massive, fun opportunity. But I just think, again, that news of Austin Jackson is the key why I went with the Patriots. Could the Dolphins win this game? Sure. I think, again, this game, Chargers, Washington, Cardinals, Titans, those are clear 50-50 games, to where nobody will be surprised the other team wins, especially, or for me, Jacksonville, Houston goes in there too. But I'm going to go with the Pats. They're at home, and losing that left tackle is going to be the difference in the game. So that's like the New England Patriots here, -3, and New England Patriots straight up. The next game, the Green Bay Packers over the New Orleans Saints. I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers here to win this football game because they brought Aaron Rodgers back after all the controversy that went on with Aaron over the year. I really like to see... I think the Packers, with him back, they're going to win the North. They're going to be back in the Super Bowl contention. And New Orleans Saints losing Drew Brees is just too much. They're not even going to have Michael Thomas as well. And this game isn't even going to be played in New Orleans. It's going to be played in Jacksonville. So I hope it's going to be like Oklahoma, Tulane. Maybe New Orleans can be like Tulane and give the Green Bay Packers a competitive game. Hopefully it's, and maybe it's a 5-point game, which would be great. Because if the Packers win by 5 and they're 4.5-point favorites, I win both times anyway. Shout out to Tulane, though, for giving Oklahoma that competitive game. But I like the Packers here. They have a better they have a quality enough defense. The offensive line, Bakhtiari is going to be on the pup, so I want to see how the New Orleans pass rush does. But I just think Jameis Winston going up against that secondary with Kevin King, with Alexander, with Savage, with Amos, I think he's going to make a mistake or two, and that's going to be basically the difference in the game for the Packers to win. Could Jameis, compete with Rodgers in a shootout? I think he could. I think losing Michael Thomas here is big. But they have Traquan Smith, who's coming off an injury himself. You have Marquez Callaway, their new burner. You have Deontay Harris, their kick returner, but he's going to be put in more of a big receiver role. They have 2 tight ends. I know one of them is named Adam Troutman. He's probably their new starting tight end. And they have Alvin Kamara, one of the best dual threat backs in the game. So, I'm going to take the Packers here. It's interesting, though. I heard the story about how the reason why the Saints chose Jacksonville was due to Rodgers' struggles in Florida, so I kind of find that hilarious. But I'm going to take the Packers here. Rodgers a quarterback, more complete team. Jameis, he'll play okay, but I just think he'll make 1 or 2 mistakes that'll cost the Saints the game to win. So that's like the Green Bay Packers are -4.5, and the Green Bay Packers straight up. The next game, the Denver Broncos over the New York Giants. This is solely off of Teddy Bridgewater, quarterback against Daniel Jones. I think Teddy Bridgewater is a good quarterback. I knew he was going to win this job in Denver because I thought he was just better than Drew Lock. And I just look at the Giants and go, look, they are a good defensive team. I thought for the longest time they were the best team in the NFC East. In the NFC East for a while. Even when they were 1-8, I still said they were the best team because they were the most competitive team across the division. And I know they brought back Leonard Williams on a 3-year deal. They brought in a lot of receivers for Daniel Jones. They're going to get Saquon Barkley back. But that offensive line, if you saw their third game against the Pats in the preseason, was dreadful. And I just think with that Denver pass rush, with Chubb, with Vaughn coming back, with Shelby in the middle, they have Kyle Fuller. Kyle Fuller and Patrick Surtain at corners. They have Justin Simmons, one of the highest paid safeties, helping in the middle there. I think that Broncos defense will get after Daniel Jones. And if you're telling me who wins this game of ball management and turnover proneness and security, that's Teddy Bridgewater and the Broncos. Could the Giants win? Sure. That's if Daniel Jones plays somewhat average. I think Daniel Jones still has an upside to him, while Teddy Bridgewater, who knows? Teddy Bridgewater's Teddy Bridgewater, so everybody knows he's just a basic plane. But I look at the Denver Broncos here to win this game based off of turnover security and ball security from Bridgewater compared to turnovers and pressure from Daniel Jones. So that's like the Denver Broncos here, -2.5, and the Denver Broncos straight up. Then the final 2 games, the Los Angeles Rams over the Chicago Bears. I like the LA Rams here because, again, I think they are the second best team in the conference. Matthew Stafford with Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. You have Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey. You have Joseph Day. You have Kenny Young at linebacker. You have Darius Williams. Yeah, Darius Williams now is the other corner with Troy Hill and John Johnson gone. I just really like this Rams team. Again, their weakness is going to be a running back. Obviously, everybody knows Cam Akers went down with an Achilles injury. Darrell Henderson was dealing with a hand injury. That's what they brought in Sony Michel from the Pats to kind of combine with Darrell to become the number 1 back. And Sean McVay just been very good offensively to know well. And last year, again, he's done this before. Last year against the Cowboys, Sunday Night Football, the first game in Allegiant Stadium, the Rams won that one 20-13 off of Jalen Ramsey beating Michael Gallup at the end on a questionable play that people could argue was pass interference. And I just look at the Bears, and I saw them play this team last year. They lost by 10 points. They had Nick Foles at quarterback. They're going to obviously start with Andy Dalton. I know there's a lot of pressure and a lot of fervor to have Justin Fields, 15th overall pick from Ohio State, come in. I would start him as well, but I feel like in a weird way, it's let Andy take the beating from the Rams defensive line and the Rams defense. Let Andy take that beating. Don't let Justin Fields have to deal with that, especially after what everybody saw in the Bills preseason game where he got whacked by that one Bills defensive player where he got fined. We don't need to see that from Justin Fields right away. Again, it's the first game. I think after that, I would put Justin and then let Andy take the beating. But obviously, I feel like Matt Nagy's going to at least go 4 to 6 weeks with Dalton as a starter. If they're under 500 through 5 games, you put Fields in. If they're not, I think Fields starts after the bye at that point. They're here first. But I just think, again, the Rams, Tyler Higbee, the Rams' creative offensive style, the Rams' defensive line getting after Dalton. Dalton's not mobile. Even neither is Stafford. But Stafford in that situation with everything around him, with the weapons around him, the offensive line around him, I think he's actually going to play really well in this game. And he might have, arguably, as much as it pains me to say, because I've been a big Matthew Stafford critic for years, he may have an MVP season. I have to be objective and give him that. So that's why I like the LA Rams here, -7.5, and the LA Rams straight up. And lastly, the Baltimore Ravens over the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm taking the Baltimore Ravens here -4.5, based on the fact that, look, I know our running game is shot. We lost J.K. Dobbins to an ACL injury, and we just lost Justice Hill yesterday to an Achilles injury. But I look at the Ravens here. They are a very clear, fundamental team. They have a brilliant secondary that can limit the Raiders' offense, led by our former tight end, Darren Waller, who I think is the third best tight end in the league. But they have Henry Ruggs. They lost Nelson Aguilar. They have Brian Edwards, who, according to John Gruden, will be a Randy Moss T.O. type receiver for them. I'll wait until I see it. And you have Hunter Renfrow, who I like as a good slot receiver. They brought in a lot of interesting defensive pieces. They brought in Casey Hayward. They brought in K.J. Wright. They brought in Denzel Perryman. So their linebacking core is actually really improved. But I just look at this Ravens team and go, even with J.K. and Justice out, we could bring in Le'Veon Bell. But we have Gus the Bus Edwards, and we have Lamar Jackson. And even though we don't have Bateman and we don't have Miles Boykin, we still have Hollywood Brown. I think we'll have enough receivers, and Mark Andrews, the third highest paid tight end in the league now. I think we'll be able to spread the Raiders' defense out enough, and we'll be able to run and gun on them to win this game, at least by a score. Could the Raiders, make some plays? Sure, they have a decent offensive line, and Darren Waller will be a nightmare to cover throughout the game. But besides Darren Waller, nobody else really scares me. Henry Ruggs can run, but he really can't catch. And I think the Ravens clamp down on the Raiders' offense and win this game to spoil the Allegiant debut for the Raider fans in front of fans in a pretty easy game, in my opinion. Sounds like the Baltimore Ravens are -4.5, and the Baltimore Ravens straight up. All right, so those are my picks for this week. So like, comment, rate, subscribe, and I will say this now. My plan is to do, just like I've done the last few years, every video will come out on Monday before the Monday Night Football game of the season. I will let all my fans know to see if anything changes throughout the season from that Monday date. So that's it. So good luck to all players, teams, fantasy players, and fellow prognosticators out there. Please check out the NFL YouTube Prognosticators group. There's great people like Andrew Warren, Keith Bailey, Gio Knows, Bridgewater's Finest, all those guys and gals that makes picks just like I do every week. Please check them out as well. And until next week, I am so glad to be back. Thank you for everybody that's been watching me throughout the years, all the new viewers, all the old viewers, all the new and old subscribers. Let's go on another great football journey, and let's get to Miami, the Super Bowl 56, see who will be the next world champion. And until next week, this is Matthew Fanatic signing off. Until next time, so long.